shields.
That's right.
Not every officer's bad.
That's right.
The institution has problems because there are problem people within the institution.
Yes, sir.
But not every officer is willing to punch a man in the face who's unarmed.
Yes.
And when things go past a certain point during protests, those officers lose. And if you want to fix the problem and you want allies in law enforcement, you got to be willing to acknowledge that.
That's right. Yes.
So with that said, we're going to let Mama recover a bit. I'm going to have Representative John King come and speak as the state representative for this area.
Thank you, Representative Bamberg, and to the news media. I appreciate you all being here today. But let me say, enough is enough. And we as black folk in this community, in this state, and in this country, we are tired of being tired of seeing black men and black women beaten and killed in this country. I stand here today mad, upset that something like this would happen in a community where we post around our city. No room for racism. Blatant racism happened on yesterday when a gang of white cops beat on 2 black men from a traffic stop that we're told because of a signal. If you can be beaten because you fail to turn on your signal or cross the line in this state while driving, shame on South Carolina. I will not stand by as the only black state representative in this community and allow my people to be assaulted. Now, I'm calling on the city to do a thorough investigation outside of their office. I'm asking for the Citizen Review Committee to look at it. I'm asking for SLED to come in and find out what happened on yesterday. Not only does the family deserve answers, but the citizens of this community deserve answers. I'm asking the mayor to do his job. I'm asking the chief to do his job and assure that black men and black women can travel through this city and in this county and feel safe. So I want you all to know, as the elected state rep here, I will not stand idly by and allow my people to be assaulted. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you everyone for coming out. I'm Regina, a representative of Black Lives Matter of Rock Hill. We appreciate all of the support. We stand for justice. In no way do we agree with any protesting that conducts of fires or violence. We don't agree with any of that at all. Black Lives Matters of Rock Hill did not start any of that. We don't agree with it. We didn't initiate it. We are here for justice today for the family. We do not appreciate the injustice of our men and of our women, of the community, of the state, and of the country, as it's been said. The jobs of police officers in any agency is to protect and serve. That is their sole responsibility. If you have someone who you feel is being unlawful, it is not your responsibility as a police officer of any agency to take it into your own hands. That is the job of a judge and a jury. Allow them to do their jobs. As it's been stated earlier, everyone is innocent until proven guilty, regardless of their nationality, their ethnicity, or their race. So everyone should be treated equally, everyone should be treated fairly, and we will be out here all day, every day, until we receive justice.
Absolutely.
We want the truth to be prevailed. Thank you everyone for coming out.
Regina, can we get your last name?
Yes, TART, T-A-R-T.
So it's already been stated why we are out here. What I want to do is speak to you from the president, or as the president of the Rock Hill branch. So I met this mom, and the grandmom yesterday to give them some answers that the police department were not willing to give them. When I initially saw the video, I was actually having lunch at the Sweet Tea restaurant where Black Lives Matter has set up a memorial to honor lives that have been lost already. And so when I saw the video, I was absolutely appalled that this was happening right where I could drive and see. And I could not believe that this was happening in my city. See, when it happens across the United States someplace else is one thing, but when it's happening right in your city, a city called Rock Hill, where, as Representative King says, that we say that there's no room for racism, it hits home. And so when it hit home, I immediately did what I have been doing for the past 7 years. I do sit on the Citizens Review Board, which I wrote the proposal and presented to City Council, which they adopted October of last year, to be organized just in case things like this happen, not knowing that it would happen before the Citizens Review Board could even finish writing its bylaws. So I immediately went into action and said, I got to go talk to the chief. And so when I did, letting them know within an hour of watching the video. That is what the Rock Hill NAACP does. This is not our first rodeo. When the attorney mentioned about the man that was accosted in the middle of the night and cussed at, officers are not trained to respond to in that manner. They are trained to respond in tactics in their manual. What we saw in the video yesterday, they're not trained to handle that way. So this is not new for the Rock Hill NAACP to handle cases like this. But cases like this don't get the attention that this case has gotten. So I promise the Rock Hill community that Rock Hill NAACP has been on it since hour one. And we vow that this will be investigated to the fullest. We are independent and have been, and we will let this mother and grandmother and this community know that these officers will be held to the highest level of accountability. I will say this. Rodney King said he was going to be famous and is and did and has opened the door for us to hold police officers accountable. I wear this badge. Black votes matter. We showed up and showed out in November, and I need us to continue to keep the momentum, to keep the pressure on. What happened last night should not have happened the way it happened. Attorney put it right. If we want to right the wrongs, we can't do wrong to right the wrongs. We must continue to protest peacefully, show up not only to show out, but to show up to say enough is enough, and this will not happen in Rock Hill.
All right, so a lot's been said today, and I'll leave you with this, all right? All people want when these type of things happen is fairness.
Absolutely.
You know, I don't think anybody is asking for special treatment. People just want to be treated fairly. To the extent officers need to be held accountable for using excessive force, for stepping outside of any policies, I don't know, for punching somebody in the face, breaking their nose, putting somebody in a wheelchair, again, a citizen who is innocent until proven guilty, then that's what needs to happen. And there needs to be a fair investigation.
Yes.
You know, citizens get upset, y'all, and I'm not speaking to the press, I'm speaking to people watching who may not understand why we're here. People get upset, and people have been upset, and I don't care if you talk about what happened with Walter Scott in Charleston, or what happened with George Floyd, or Alton Sterling in Louisiana, or Rodney King, Jonathan Ferrell in Charlotte, Keith Scott in Charlotte. It's easy for law enforcement to step in and investigate and charge American citizens when they think those citizens violated the law. like these guys apparently thought of Ricky and Travis yesterday. And all citizens want is it should be just as easy.
Just as easy.
It should be the same process when law enforcement crosses the line
Absolutely.
or breaks the law. And law enforcement, only y'all can fix that.
Yes. That's right.
There ain't a lawyer that can fix it. There's not a mother who's upset that can fix it. It's not a dead body that can fix it at this point.
Only we, the people.
Only law enforcement can fix that.
Yep.
And that's all we're asking. That's all anybody's asking. It's fairness in the system. Fairness in the system. So with that said, I'm happy to take any questions. I'll tell you now, the family themselves are not going to take any questions right now. But I'm happy to answer on their behalf, as well as I understand it. Representative King, the NAACP, and Black Lives Matter are happy to answer any questions also.
In the bond hearing a few minutes ago, Ricky Roderick Price was denied bond on the current charges based on what the judge said of past charges and the summation of this incident. What is your response to him being denied bond on these charges when he, as you said, is in a wheelchair, needs medical treatment, and are these charges of a high enough level where he should have been or may have been denied a chance at bond before he has to appear in such a case?
We're going to be looking into that fully, based on his injuries, based on his medical needs. The most important thing right now is that he get the help he needs physically. We are going to try to get the bond revisited. I don't know, at this point, I don't envision him wanting to be anywhere other than sitting in his house healing or going to the doctor. And I think that's the safest thing to do. But I will say this, that you know, on his behalf and the behalf of his family, I'll be watching to make sure that he receives appropriate medical care while he is detained. Because again, just because you're sitting in the jail cell doesn't mean you're guilty of anything. And as a citizen, the government, the onus is on them to make sure that you receive appropriate or, if needed, emergency medical care. And we want to make sure that happens.
Mr. Bamberg, what is the law enforcement telling you about the basis of the stop and then the basis of the search? I think the general public needs to know that law enforcement is required to have a separate basis for a stop. Just because you stop someone doesn't mean you can search them. If you could please explain this to us.
My understanding, and obviously I have not spoken with the officers that were out there. I have looked at the statement that was put out by the Rock Hill Police Department, and the facts they gave are the facts they gave. They say that he was pulled over for a minor traffic infraction. They've said that they were out there conducting surveillance. I believe not of Ricky specifically, just in general. And what I think happened, based on what I've read, is they saw Mr. Price driving and said, "Oh, we know that he does stuff," and they looked for a reason to pull him over.
But why did they search the car? What are they saying?
Yeah.
I know you.
Yeah, what my understanding of what they're saying is that when they pulled him over, based on what they knew about him, or based on their prejudgment of prior interactions with him as an individual, they decided to call the dog out there and sniff the car, and the dog hit on something, which actually speaks to another point and another big problem with this situation, is if the dog was called out there for that, and the dog hit on something to go ahead and give them reason to search, if that's the case, the dog should have been put up.
Should have been put away.
I don't know of a single police officer's use of force policy that says it's appropriate to threaten
Absolutely.
or scare
Absolutely.
a person like,
To submission.
hey, we gonna maul you
Absolutely.
if you don't do what we're saying, right? I don't know that that's written anywhere. And the way that dog was utilized, it does concern me. It concerns a lot of people.
Sure does.
And you know, I have Belgian Malinois. That's what kind of dog that was, Belgian Malinois. And they're tough dogs to work with. That's for sure.
You'll be filing motions to dismiss based on all the evidence that was seized and, of course, the improper use of the K9, I assume.
We're going to be looking into every angle of this thing, whether it be the appropriateness of the stop, whether it be the legitimacy of the searches. But right now, the number one priority is making sure that he gets the medical care that he needs. Because, I mean, we've seen in this state, if we look to what happened in Charleston, right? We have a hard enough time with government providing adequate medical care in general in this state due to, you know, problems with health insurance and things like that. It's even harder when you're sitting in jail.
I want to say something. The officers that were there yesterday, just like this young man was denied bond today, while there's an investigation going on, he's still in jail, and these officers are still working. Why are they not on suspension or fired? If that has not happened, shame on the city. They should not be working today. That's the question we need to be asking as well. Why are they still working for the city of Rock Hill while this is being investigated? And I think that has to happen, and that's what I'm asking the chief to do immediately, either to stop them from working or fire them, because what I saw is unacceptable in this state.
It's been asked for.
It has, I believe the NAACP is working on that, but as I've stated before, as the only black elected on a state level in this county, I'm asking the city to act and act immediately. Otherwise, I'm telling people, go out and protest. Protest until you get what you want. Be very peaceful with it. Protest until they fire their asses. Time out for my people being treated like dogs. It's time out. And until they are fired, there will not be any stopping of protests in this state, in this county.
Mr. King, before you were in the room when everything was going on, and I know the family's not speaking, but you were there watching Mr. Price, you know, cry out and say, I'm, you know, innocent, and say, I don't know why you stopped me. Can you talk a little bit about what it was like seeing that for you?
I was cringing. I was upset. I held back tears because this is the first experience that I've had to watch this with my own two eyes, especially as an elected official. This should not happen in Rock Hill. It should not happen in this state. It should not happen in this country. And until we get some resolve, those officers should not be on the street. As a black man who has to drive my car in that district, I'm afraid. Even with the legislative tag on, when a police officer stopped me, I'm afraid.
Be afraid.
And that should not be what black men and black women should feel when they get in their cars. And I know you understand that as a black woman.
Representative King, in that vein, you talked earlier that you requested the police department to involve SLED as an outside agent. Have you asked for a federal review because South Carolina has no hate crime laws, whether it's police or the public?
Shame on South Carolina. Justin Bamberg and myself voted for a hate crime law this year in South Carolina, which was held up in the Senate. So the House did their job. I will say this to you. I have not spoken to the city about the federal government being involved or SLED. I'm letting you know that if they do not ask for it, I will call from it from my official capacity as a state legislator.
Any other questions? If not, thank you all so much.